back, everybody, to The Creative Moment, Season 3, Episode 2. This is a podcast where we talk all things creativity. I'm Dante Bollhauer. I'm a photographer.
Jamie Bollhauer, writer.
And obviously, with those two professions, creativity plays a lot into our lives, and we're here to talk about it. So let's start right in. We don't have a mic today, a little bit of equipment, just mishaps.
Technology.
Yeah, the little techno-babble type thing. But today we are here to talk about tech / kind of AI
chat.
Basically like the future
GPT.
of, GPT. Yeah,
Taking
whatever.
over the world, gonna ruin writing.
Yeah, it is replacing photography, it's replacing writing, it is replacing everything you will ever need ever. Until we are all robots like Wall-E or Meet the Robinsons. So that's what we're here to talk about today. So obviously ChatGPT, if you don't know what it is.
Those are robotic hats.
Yes.
That we're still on humans though.
Well, yeah,
okay.
There wasn't much quality of life there. I mean,
okay.
If you don't know Meet the Robinsons, that is a great movie. Check it out. But ChatGPT, if you don't know what it is, it's an AI program that basically writes scripts. It's just an AI platform that can generate artificial intelligence in almost any realm of anything, really. It can write your essays for you. It can actually, through ChatGPT, someone made a coded program that can detect ChatGPT written stuff. So like it can do a whole realm of things. You can generate AI generated photos. You can just type in ocean. I've seen things where you can select part of that artificially created photo and say, I want there to be rocks here with some lizards on it, and it'll generate that into the photo. Like it's insane, and a lot of people are saying it's going to replace this, that, the other thing. What are your thoughts on it thus far? Obviously, it's still very much in its early phase of kind of beta development type thing, but it's very powerful already. So what are your thoughts on it and how it kind of plays into the creative world?
So, I actually have a blog post about this on my personal blog. It's all connected. It's called AI Doesn't Like Blueberry Muffins.
I read this actually.
Yeah. My base answer to is AI going to replace creativity? No. Sorry. It's not. And that's part of what I argue a little bit in that blog post. In regards to the base argument that, and as I was walking in, we're recording a little bit later, so the night sky is out and there's a slight breeze.
It's finally nice out, which is why I'm in a jersey, because the first opportunity I get for nice weather, I do that.
And I was just like, AI will never experience this. And then as my mind was racing a little bit, I was like, AI will never have its heart broken either. It might be able to generate a love poem or a broken heart poem, but it's never going to experience it. And therefore, there is going to be something actually missing from that composition. And I totally forgot. I was trying to look it up before we started. There was a fun article that this wife had it create a love letter to her husband. And even tweaked it and even tried to get it and gave it to him. And he was like, this is really scary. What is this? And she admitted that most of it was the general cliche, and everything that has been written, because it grabs from the internet and things like that. And it just did not connect with her type of writing, with their relationship, with their history, their ups and their downs. It had that, we've been through a lot together. Okay. Like
kind of like the zodiac signs, if it gives you generic statements that relate to the general population, so it sounds, in theory, it gets the message across, but it doesn't have that personal, like that AI did not go through all that couple went through their marriage and all this stuff. You just physically can't relate to that if you are an artificial, unless you've been through it, which is just her and him in a relationship. So another question I have is I don't think it will replace real photographers, real writers, real creatives. It might replace some jobs in some areas where efficiency is more valued than I guess the human real product. But with we've talked about this a lot, society, and especially in the consumer market, whereas creatives, we were putting stuff out to be consumed, where the content is progressively getting more shallow and less about the value, the emotion it provides, more about does it hit my dopamine center of my brain type thing. Will it matter? I don't think it'll replace real photographers, but if you just see a good photo now, if you're looking through Instagram, you just say, oh, it's a cool photo, swipe through. You don't really care about what the photographer did to get that photo. You don't care about the story behind it, the meaning it has to the photographer, or maybe to you if you actually sat there and consumed that. So with society moving to more of a just shallow base level type thing, does AI kind of have an advantage there, being able to kind of mass produce a whole bunch of stuff when you don't really care about anything but the final product as a consumer now? How does that weigh into the creative world, and how do you kind of recognize that and almost leverage it back onto the advantage of real people creating real art?
So honestly, to a degree, I think we're still going to swing for a while to a shallow existence.
We're not at the extreme yet.
No, we're not. And to a degree, in the educational world, oh my gosh, students, having essays written by this, and even as an educator, I'm like, okay, I'm not actually that worried. Okay, how I set up my class and the writing thing, but even right now, honestly, to a degree, the grade is just something that students are trying to get instead of earn. And studies, though, have shown that students tend, if they're going to cheat, they're going to cheat. Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what you have. They'll work harder at trying to break the rules and cheat than to just take the test or write. So in some fashion, I'm not that worried in that regard. But the stress of getting the good grades, getting the degree, grade inflation, and actually even at the high school level, to a degree, that it's just about getting that grade. That for a while,
it's not about learning whatever the lesson is. It's about making sure that you get the grade you want so you can just get through whatever and then move on to the next grade.
And that's where this can build into that mindset. And honestly, I'm sorry, I still think we're still swinging that way.
I agree.
And I think it's still there's some tough things ahead. But if you can tap into why it's important, in this case, talking about essays and just being creative and doing things, I think we'll be okay. We have to do that. We somehow have to get away from the idea that or try to build a better depth to our everyday existence. And creativity does that. Okay, that I have that one group or a class of 7th graders, and honestly, part of the reason they just like that class is because we just do all kinds of just stuff. We draw, we write pictures. I put a prompt on there. I draw a picture, and and their brains get going, and they're like, man, that hour went by fast. And they're not worried about their phones or anything. That's a really easy class to do that in, though, because that's just what it is. CCC's English 1010 class, where we are just writing, it's hard to spark sometimes that creativeness and feel kind of the same rush you get from checking your phone, but in look what I did. But it's really cool when I can get there. I just love to sit back and everybody's like, look what I draw. They'll say, I can't draw, but then they do something for me or they write, and then they're all over the class, look, and it's that same rush. It's that same energy. And so hoping we got to, as a creative community, as a society, whatever, it's going to be hard to get back there to this, but we've always been on the cusp of education being about grades, and that's maybe the hardest part, not the AI, just about, well, I gotta get this grade and not the learning part.
Yeah, and so like transitioning that into a creative perspective, as a photographer, you could translate that into, I just want this photo to get the most likes.
Yeah.
I just want this photo to go, this TikTok to go viral. I'm not going to post the photos that I took a lot of time to edit or maybe mean more to me. I'm going to post a photo that I think is going to get the most likes, which is this just random photo of maybe it's not even something that creative, or like...
Yeah, but you use a filter on it.
Yeah, or like you use a filter, especially I find this in video editing, videos will get more likes if they have more cool effects and new motion graphics instead of the story that they tell, because no one wants to stick around for the story to be told. They just want to see, oh, that was cool,
yep.
Done. And so with AI being able to just like, you type in, show me a photo of a beautiful mountain at sunset, boom, you take that, you post it, you'd be like, wow, look at this photo, whatever. It almost expedites that pendulum swing of we're getting farther into the shallow content creation, more of the shallow, I use the words like fulfillment versus kind of happiness, but it's more just like the instant gratification versus like the sustained dopamine, where you're talking about the drawing through class has that like sustained dopamine where probably the whole day they kind of feel good. They're like, well, I was really proud of that drawing or that poem, things like that.
Or it's up in my room. And it's funny how some will, even now, first quarter stuff is up there and they're looking at it. They're like, hey, you remember when,
Yep. And so I think through the pendulum swings this way or the other way, thoughtful and meaningful content will always, it's evergreen, whereas the trends of shallow content and the trends of maybe on the other side will come and go. But thoughtful and meaningful content and stuff that you put your creativity and passion into, I feel like will always end up being that kind of consistent, sustained level of appreciation. It might not be, my photos don't go super viral, but every photo that I post has some thought or meaning behind it for me. And so that sustained consistency and sustained growth might not be as high as the highest highs for like viral TikTokers, but it will never get as low as when that shallow pendulum swings back the other way and these videos don't have any value to anybody anymore.
Well, or the aspect, a little bit of social media and things is it gets really high and then it's over.
Yep.
As
soon as I close TikTok, I can maybe tell you one of the videos that I watched. No matter what the time frame is of looking at it, as soon as I scroll out, all that dopamine or whatever watching that is gone.
Yeah.
And so with AI, being able to, you can, like you said, you can create a beautifully crafted poem in seconds or whatever. But if you don't have that personal touch, like for photography, Peter Lick, super famous landscape photographer, has most expensive print ever. People don't buy the photos necessarily now because of the photo. They buy it because it's a Peter Lick. It's a Peter Lick print. It's his composition, his thought process. And so that personal aspect that AI can't provide, I think is invaluable and more evergreen than mass production type stuff that
and the Peter, so this gets a little deep and maybe abstract, But I think, as we were talking about the emotion aspect and things, there just is, whatever you want to call it. I always kind of call it the magic of creation. Okay, people's voice and style and other things, but you can tell or sense or feel or hear or whatever the creation from the person and whatever the content is. Sorry, you might disagree with me. You might think all art is just basic paint on a canvas, but I don't. Our emotion, our spirit, our whatever is transferred into our creation. It is a part of our creation, however little itsy bitsy it might be, and you can tell it. I can tell your photo compared to other people. My poetry reads differently than other people, even though, I would love to write like Langston Hughes or something, but I can't because I'm not there. And AI can write poetry like Emily Dickinson, whatever, but it's like it. It is not her abstract, deep, depressive, use of the dash type of thing. It's like it, but it's not. It just does not have that magic. And that's the hard part, is that the pendulum is on the very quick, shallow, I don't even remember what I just read 2 seconds ago type of thing. I think it will change. And here's the one part about it, is because honestly, and everybody to a degree can probably at least recognize this, that you may get that quick dopamine feed, but when you've been on the screen or you've been dealing with that shallow existence, you actually start to feel it. And it doesn't mean that it's like depression or anything, but there just is not joy. There's not joy in that type of consumption. And there's joy in other things. That's why we can go to art museum and look at a piece over and over again and go, that just hits. Like, I remember some of your specific photos because, sorry, Aurora, when they lost the state championship, I think it's the quarterback is down, squatted, hit, the Carney free throw, I remember those things because I know and feel and have experienced basketball. I've experienced sports, so I get what's going on there. I don't remember half the stuff I looked on Instagram. And so I think we will, but sadly, I don't feel like we're very close to having it swing.
No, I agree. We're still on that uptick.
Yeah, we're
getting more into the shallow, the instant gratification, that type of thing. And the funny thing that you talked about there is with the personal part of that art, whether you intend it or not, it shines through. And so you can write a Langston Hughes-esque poem, and it'll have all the technical stuff that he did, his style, but they will never be able to tap into the mind of Langston Hughes and output his mind onto that paper or document, because they're just simply not him. And when Langston Hughes writes his work or whatever, whether he intent I'm going to make this, this is going to be super on brand for me, or whether he doesn't even think about it and he's just writing, his inner creativity shines through no matter what. And that's just something that AI will never be able, I shouldn't say never, because you never know. We could plug some brain chips in but we could live forever by the time we're done with this podcast. But it just can't physically go into the mindset of him or you or me and instill that onto the final product. Yeah.
And part of it connected because Langston Hughes in his autobiography, The Big C, written when he actually went over in the 60s and stuff to Europe and everything. But anyway, he actually talks about a little bit, because I think we're going to talk about this another time, the importance of emotion. And he actually said in there that most of his poetry that he wrote, he was not in a good mood. He was not in a good place. He did not could not write not everything, but just like when he was happy, he didn't feel poetic. And when he was dealing, like, everything from poverty and trying to make it as a poet, and coming back from Europe to America, the contrast, and and his social works, like, it came from a darker place. But that's again why you could kind of feel that, like, the dream deferred is maybe his most famous. Everybody connects to that because we all have felt putting our dreams somewhere or giving up on them, and or like Peter McKinnon, like his photography, he is kind of joyful, and you can
very exuberant.
Yes, he's very exuberant, but you can see it. Like when I look at some of his stuff or his videos, even. As he talked about the one in the ocean where he changed but it's like, you get it. Like, that's why people like his stuff, because it is his stuff, but it's a part of him, and
that's part of the reason why they like it.
That. Yeah, it's that bridge between that magic, as I call it, and the creation that came across for them.
Yeah, and so I don't think it'll ever be able to fully replace until that pendulum starts swinging back. I think it'll just get more popular. Are there any positives or benefits that you see maybe you introducing into your process? Is there anything that you've seen?
Not for like Chat GPT, like for that stuff. No, I just don't. It's in my world, to a degree, of pure writing. I just have to write. I've got to study my forms. I got to work my vocab, stuff like that. Now I can kind of see where you maybe, because of the hard work you put in behind the scenes of a photo, because there's the photo and then there is the product.
I don't see myself really having a use for something like that. There are photographers, like some early kind of AI stuff is like sky replacements. Like if it's a cloudy sky, you can have AI detect where that sky is, replace it with a sunset and replace the lighting and things. I'm not into that sort of thing. I do a lot of Photoshop, and my photos are obviously edited, but I try to invoke the emotion that I actually felt when I was there. And if it's cloudy, I'm not feeling the same as I am if it's like a sunset. So I feel like it negates what I'm trying to put into the photo. So I don't see a real purpose in it. I love the ability. That's a big part why I started my own business, is because I love being able to start something and then go all the way through the process of finishing it and have it be like 100% my product. And so I feel like introducing AI to that, or like I talked about being my own boss, having other hands in that basket, I feel like just kind of with every step that you take farther down that road becomes less and less of my work. And I have a real sense of fulfillment whenever I post something and it does well, because I know that I started it, I worked all the way through it, and I finished it. So I don't see it really playing a part in my day-to-day life either. I have no idea. What do you see as like the future, maybe the peak of that swing before we come down? Where does it get to at its worst, I guess?
Well, we're already seeing that, and again, we've already had somebody use the chat to write a children's book and produce the images and everything, and they tweaked some things because it didn't come out perfect. Like, they had to do that, but the story and stuff that was written there, and that first, he was the first one to kind of do that, right down the center, basically. People are like, how can you call yourself an author when the computer wrote the thing? So the computer should be paid. This is the new era, this is how we are going to, I don't think we have to be that cruel about it. You are using the tool, but it's I think we're just going to have a bunch of stuff, and there probably is going to come a point to where we're, now I forgot the the newspaper. 2 weeks ago, the newspaper they stopped publishing AI articles and said, we will start to tell you when this is written by a person and when this is written by a computer. I do not remember, sorry, because honestly we do this pretty organic, but it was about 2 weeks ago, there was a national paper.
I think I remember seeing it.
Yeah, and they're like, okay, and that's just crazy that we're going to have to start. This poem was written by AI.
This politically charged article was actually written by a computer, and that computer has no political
association with it. Yeah, I don't know.
It just becomes farther removed from the author. And so going back to the children's book thing, yeah, you are not the author, because if you type that exact same question and tweaked it in the same ways in that same program, you'd get the exact same product. And that's something that even with 100 photographers standing at the same spot, your final product will be different because of how you artistically induce yourself into that photo.
Yeah.
And AI, I think we'll get to a point where, there'll be companies that just generate viral TikTok videos based on AI, and then they'll just start making money based off computer calculations and computer type thing, and then we'll get to a certain point where we're like, okay, literally all these companies or whatever are making money based on a computer, kind of not like the GameStop short squeeze or whatever, but kind of like a revolt to that stuff, and we'll go we should start appreciating the actual art made by the individuals that create that stuff, and then we'll start kind of that swing back. It's really weird. Obviously, tech hasn't been around that long. It's been around for my whole life. Can't say the same for everybody here, but the evolution of it, it's just so unpredictable with where it can go and what it can do. 5 years ago, you would have never guessed that someone would publish a children's book completely written by a computer.
Yeah.
And so there's good and bads to everything. I think the best part about creativity is it being you, and that's something that no one else can replicate.
And whatever the creativity is, again, like your grandpa with welding and stuff, at the end of the day, it gives us a sense of identity, gives us a sense of purpose, it gives us goals and paths to follow. And if we don't have that, or we stop appreciating or stop even being creative, what are we doing? We're just consuming AI material then. And I'm not going to spend my roughly 75, 78 years doing that. That's not what I'm here for.
I'll just delete social media if it's not going to be actual human. I mean,
yeah.
But that's the progression we're on. So
yeah, it is. I'm not saying that it's going to be kind of rough for a little while.
It'll be interesting. We're here for the long haul. I mean, we say that now, but if this thing gets big enough, we might start just putting some AI robots or something. I don't know. But for now, we're real. We're here.
We'll just go watermelon, and let AI
and
fill
just
in
let
the dialogue.
it do all the little.
They do that junior high choir thing.
Yeah. So with that was the Creative Moment Season 3, Episode 2, brought to you by Real Humans, and we will see you guys in a couple weeks.